Erica and Sharon are sisters who began their grief journey in 2006 when Erica's 10-year-old son Austin drowned. Together, they participated in a grief education program, were so moved by this experience, they studied and became specialists so they could help the brokenhearted find recovery. In 2015, tragedy struck their family once again when Erica's oldest son Donovan was killed in a motorcycle accident. Erica and Sharon are committed to sharing their experiences of love, loss, and healing through this podcast. Now your grief specialists, Sharon and Erica.
A new year and we are back. And yet the grief just still won't go away.
I feel like there's so many different levels that have been added to the grief. Considering we're still in the pandemic, the numbers are still going up. Now we had all this political craziness. Like, when are we gonna have like a new year? We'd be like, yay!
Yeah.
Year! Like the last few have been like, another year.
I think
More
you're the
stuff.
one. Right, exactly. You're the one. Didn't you send me the meme? Like, I feel like 2021 just put on a wig and came back in.
Yeah, 2021 is just 2020 with bangs.
Yeah. Okay. But we can do this, right? We can do it. We can survive.
Absolutely. We got this. We got this.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about you can't heal what you can't feel. You can't heal what you won't feel.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that topic. I love that topic because people don't realize sometimes that they absolutely have to feel this miserable, broken, sad in order to get through it.
Right. You know, might allow themselves to feel like, for me personally, I allowed myself after Donovan died to feel anger. I was able to feel that. So that's the only thing I would let in. The sadness, the like intense longing, all of that stuff was like, it was too heavy. I couldn't do it. So I wouldn't. And you saw what I went through. I mean, it was a wreck. I was a wreck of myself, and I wouldn't acknowledge that stuff. So I wasn't healing or even like letting it out at all. So people come into us and they'll have the one feeling they're allowing and they'll want to work on that, but they don't want to address any of the other stuff.
Well, 100%. So what we're talking about right now is what are we trying to tell them that they need to feel? They need to feel all the feels.
Mm-hmm.
They need to feel all of the emotions. So if today the emotion is anger, be okay with the fact that you're sitting in anger. But then the second part of that is call it by its name. Say, this is anger. And if you're really in tuned enough with your body and with your heart, you can say why you're having the anger.
Right.
What was the anger from, Erica?
One, that he did all the things I didn't want him to do, and that I knew something bad was going to happen. So it was like he proved me right in the ultimate way that there was no recovering from.
So the anger was really pointed towards Donovan.
Oh, it
at
was
that point.
completely.
Yeah. And so we have to feel the feels. We have to feel all the feelings. But what happens to us is we feel like if I allow this anger in, this is what a lot of clients tell us, I won't be able to stop it.
Right.
I'll rip the house apart. I'll pull my husband's eyes out.
Yeah.
I'll go in my cabinets and throw everything on the floor, which is actually what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. But they feel like they're not, if I allow some of the feelings in, then more are going to come. And what if I don't know what comes? What if what comes I can't control?
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. I think instead of saying anger, we should say rage, because that's what it feels like. It feels like rage.
Yeah.
And you want to tear everything off the walls, cut up clothes. You know, you just want to tear everything down because that's how intense it is. And that's how bad it is. Like, that's how bad you feel. So you feel like you won't be able to dial it back. Absolutely. And I think there's another piece to it where people feel bad, or they use guilty. I feel guilty.
Yeah.
Which we say we don't use that word, but about being mad at the person who's deceased, because you know, it's the sad thing. Like, I can't be mad at him. You know, he he had a heart attack and he died. Well, yeah, you can. You're human. You have
Yeah.
the right to have whatever emotion shows up.
Yeah. 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 He had a heart attack and he died, but he left me with all these bills. He had a heart attack and he died, and he never got the life insurance that I asked him to get. He had a heart
Right.
attack and he died, and I have to raise her all by myself now. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So every single thing we do in our life is because of how we think it's going to make us feel. Every single thing we do in our life is because of how we think it's going to make us feel. We go to Magic Mountain and Disneyland because we want to feel happy that day, right? We also avoid emotions. I know it's expensive. We also avoid emotions and feeling the feels of guilt because of how we think it's going to make us feel.
Right.
So we avoid it because of how we think we're going to feel inside when we go there.
Mhm.
So we have to allow healing by going through even the ugly.
That's the truth, because that's the only way you can get to the healing. Is
Right.
by going through it. And
Right.
I think there's such a misconception. We talk about this all the time that, people just feel they have to wait it out. It's going to get better. I'm just going
Yeah.
to give it time. I'm just going to keep praying. I'm just, that's not going to get you through.
Right. Feelings are directive. They
Mhm.
direct us in the healing. They direct us in what direction to go. So your anger came up, you were mad, and you chose to stay in that for a while. That was your directive. That was the direction that you took. And sometimes we can get stuck there for
Right.
years, for years.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that at that 1 year mark, if I didn't make a choice to move towards healing, I was going to be stuck in there or something even worse. And it was the even worse that scared me. And so I knew I had to take some sort of action because it was just going to get darker and deep, and I was going to get deeper. So yeah,
Yeah.
at that moment, if I wouldn't have made that choice, we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now because I'd be a hot mess.
One of the reasons that I think we as a species don't like to feel our feelings is because we're a species of over pleasure. We want all the good feelings. We want to feel good all the time. And I don't want to feel the bads. I am insistent that I feel good all the time, even in our grief.
Mhm.
You wouldn't think that that's the case, but that is the case.
Yeah, we're definitely a pleasure-seeking society, and they have those studies that they do on mice where they trigger their endorphins. So they hit this little tab, and it gives them like an endorphin rush, and then they have a tab that gives them like a shock. Well, the endorphin rush feels so good, they will continue to just sit there and hit that to their death because they will negate eating and drinking because that pleasure sensor is so like, oh my God, I like this. I like
Yeah.
it. Let's do it again. So yeah, I feel like we are like that as well, especially with our social media stuff. We just constantly, if you like the TikTokers, I'm not a TikToker yet. I'm trying to hold out. But you see the one video that's funny and you like that, something like that. And then they start giving you more. Oh, well, if you like that, you'll like this. And if you like that, you'll like this. It's kind of the same thing.
Is that what they did to me?
You're a mouse.
I'm a TikTok mouse. Right. So because we're a society of over pleasurers, right? We also try to avoid the emotions and the feelings with food, with drinking, with drugs, with sex, with technology, and even with work. We use all of these things to avoid the feelings, to avoid the pain, and give us this heightened sense of pleasure, or that this heightened sense that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Because when we look to the right, it's ominous and painful, and we don't want to go that way. But if I look to the left, hey, I can have a little glass of wine and I can forget that this is happening. Or I can have a little glass of wine and I can go deeper into the pain, and then ugly shows up and we don't know what to do with it because we've really, it's not the true sense of where we feel, right?
Yeah. Well, and you have those moments where you're indulging in whatever it is. And like you said, you get a little bit of the pain or you let a little bit of it out.
Yeah.
And then the next day, there's like a complete disconnect because you're either sober or you're out of that zone. And so nothing has processed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it was like a moot transaction because you didn't learn or grow in any way. It's just kind of like you let a little bit, but you didn't gain any healing or any kind of satisfaction from, okay, now I need to go on and really go after this. You know, is that clear?
Yeah. Yeah, that I need to go after this, because what happens when we don't go after this, so we use the word feeling and emotions interchangeably. They're kind of the same, right? You have a feeling, you have an emotion, you're expressing that emotion. We use them interchangeably. When you don't allow those feelings and emotions, they build up.
Yeah.
It builds up into this volcano that can just explode on anybody, right? So let me just say this. Simply stated, a feeling or a emotion is simply a vibration in our body. It's just a vibration that we feel. But sometimes we don't know what that vibration is. So it is our job to call it out by its name. Like you were very clear that that was anger. Sometimes our clients don't know that that's anger. So it's their job to figure out, what is this and why am I having it? And allow that emotion, even for 5 minutes, for 5 seconds, just sit in it for a minute without going to grab that glass of wine to get it to go away. I'm really mad at him. I told him not to buy that bike, and he did what I told him not to do. But when we resist it and push back against it, it makes it harder to heal it.
Yeah. And it just, like you said, keeps building until the volcano is
Yeah.
at the breaking point. And when it breaks, it's bad for everyone. It's bad
Yeah.
for your children. It's bad for your significant other. It's bad for your sibling. It's bad for everybody.
Well, and I also find that when you allow little bits of it to just sit there without processing it all the way through. So this is what my own personal experience. I would get upset and really miss Sharon, and I would let it sit there and I would just push it away. I mean, I literally was the teacher that needed the grief recovery, right? So I just push it away, and then a little bit more would come, and I'm like, I have no one to talk to. I really miss her. I need her. And I kept letting it build up until finally that just like this avalanche of tears just came out that I almost couldn't stop. And that's why I really speak about this, because even if we just go to clean our kitchen because we feel uncomfortable, and then that's fine, I'm just going to do laundry. We keep ourselves busy. We're keeping away from that vibration sitting in our body. And the thing that's so crazy, the more we allow ourselves to feel, the faster we can go through this and heal the broken heart.
Yeah.
But we do the exact opposite. We go sit on the couch and let the laundry pile up.
Yeah. So you're just prolonging it. That's the truth. You're just prolonging the inevitable, because at some point it is going to break. The dam's going to break. The volcano's going to erupt. But the more you resist allowing the vibrations in, you're just delaying it and adding more, because the longer it takes to get through that, the more intense it is.
Right. And I think that one of the things you and I teach and we help them through is understanding that you can allow 5 minutes in. You can allow it in for 5 minutes, because otherwise you're putting a cork in it, right? And what happens when you put a cork in it, right? It explodes out the other end. So you can allow it for 5 minutes. As I talk to clients all the time, and I say, okay, I have an injection here, and it's grief and a broken heart, and I'm going to inject it into you. But I promise the worst feelings are only going to last for 5 minutes. They're only going to last for 5 minutes. Would you agree to allow me to inject this in you? You're going to feel sad. Tears are going to come down. Your stomach might even hurt. But in 5 minutes, it's going to all be done. And you'll be done with that portion of the healing. And most clients are like, yeah, I could take it for 5 minutes. But yet they don't go in the room and allow 5 minutes of just grieving. They resist that 5 minutes. They're fine and okay if I tell them if they know all the stuff. But we don't know all that stuff. And the truth is, you got to go in the bathroom. You got to do the ugly cry sometimes. You got to be by yourself. You got to let it out. Resisting it and avoiding it is not going to help you.
No, it's not. And like we said earlier, people think that if they start, they'll never stop. Well, that's just physically impossible to never stop.
Right.
Your body's not going to allow you to cry for the rest of your days.
Right.
It feels like that. It absolutely feels like that. But even if you start to cry by 5-10 minutes, you're not in it anymore. You're done. You're not doing the heavy, the
Right.
deep breathe and all that. It's just a couple tears. Maybe your eyes are wet, but it starts to pull itself back. You just have to go through it, and the fighting of it makes it so much harder.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. So there's a difference between a feeling and an emotion and an involuntary sensation. An involuntary sensation is something that we feel in our body, right? And it goes to our head. I'm hot. I'm cold. I'm tired, right? I need to drink a glass of water. Sometimes we feel these things, and it's just that you need to drink water. Some self-care. I feel I have to go to the restroom. It comes from our body and goes to our head. Typically, with emotions and feelings, they come from our head and go to our heart. That's the difference. So we will have a thought. I'm so stinking mad he bought that motorcycle. That's a thought. Why didn't he listen to me? And then immediately the anger goes to our heart. So it's opposite of what we think it's going to be. So
Right.
typically we have the thought first about the situation, and then we have the feeling. So that if that helps too, and a lot of times where people say, I was so mad today, clients will say, I was so mad. And I'll say, well, what were you thinking? What were your thoughts? What was this around? And if we can grab those and understand them, that the thought's going to come first, it does help with the healing as well.
And people also get stuck in their thoughts. Just like you could get
Yes.
stuck in an emotion, you could get stuck in your thoughts. So it's like you get on that little hamster wheel, and it's so hard to get yourself off.
hmm It can just spin in your head all day. Here's the
Yeah.
other thing. You can get stuck in the thoughts, and because you and I say all the time, grief is not intellectual, right? It's not
Mhm.
in your brain. We can get stuck in the thoughts and never allow the emotions.
Right.
What if you stayed there and thought about him buying that motorcycle? What if you were so mad and you refused to go beyond that? We see
Right.
clients that do that all the time.
Yep.
They make grief all intellectual and on their head. And then they start trying to solve the problem as if it's a problem to be solved. It's not a problem to be solved. You're not going to fix this unless you allow yourself to feel it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it feels like crap. Grief feels like crap. It's the worst experience of your life. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. That's the truth. But
Well,
unless we allow ourselves to feel it,
and you it's like a grief, it's like a roller coaster ride. It's like,
yeah,
you zig and you zag, and in an hour you can be all over the map with your emotions, and then come back and you're like, what just happened? That's why people feel like they're crazy. They're
yeah,
like, something's wrong with me. I'm going crazy. We've had, how
right,
many clients have we talked to that said that? I'm going crazy. And it's,
yeah.
no, you're not. It's normal. Everything you feel is normal. This is just what it is.
They feel like they're going crazy. And how many times do they say, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not going to live through this. This is going to kill me. That's what it feels like. It absolutely feels like that. That's another reason why, Erica, I say this all the time. You need somebody with you to guide you and help you.
Yeah.
First of all, you don't know how to do it. We didn't know how to do it. You need somebody to just say, yeah, what about that? What about that? Let's go there. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that thought. What if he didn't buy the motorcycle? What would have changed, right?
Right.
What if he didn't get on the motorcycle that day? And you just walk through every scenario that you can until you've gotten to the bottom and the nth degree of what's really going on and what's really happened. Right?
Yeah. That is absolutely true. That is, and the a lot of the, the what ifs, and even more than the what ifs, are the whys, getting stuck in the why. And we've gone round and round with that with clients of the why, but the why is not the issue. It's the here, the now, the present. It happened.
Right.
You can't get stuck down the rabbit hole of the what ifs and the why. You have to be present in this happened.
Yeah.
This happened.
You know, my heart just really hurts for everybody that has embarked on their own personal grieving experience. But more so, my heart really hurts for everyone like you and I who didn't know how to do it, who didn't know how to do it, who went with what we thought was right, and in the process ended up making so many mistakes. We did so many things wrong, but I'm glad we did, because now we can see them in other people right away. What if somebody had just come up and said, you need to feel this. You need to just go there. You need to feel this. Would we have been resistant to it? I don't know, because you and I were so stuck in the 5 stages and trying to figure out what stage you were in, not me, what stage you were in, that it distracted us, right?
Completely. I mean,
It completely distracted us.
When you talk about a problem to be solved, I was trying to figure out how to get myself to fit into one of those stages. So I was like stuck on that. But
Right.
I'm just imagining someone coming up to us and saying that. We would have been like, get out of here, freak, which is what I think most people say to us when they're listening. They might be listening to our podcast or seeing our post going, whatever. They don't know what they're talking about
Right.
at the time, because you have to be ready to receive the message, and you have to be ready to go after it. And so at the time frame, the 8 months when we found the program.
And we're talking about Austin here, not Donovan.
Austin. We're talking about Austin. When we found the program, we were tired of stumbling.
Yeah.
We were so tired of stumbling and not getting anywhere. We were ready to receive the message and to do the work. So I think the timing of everything has to be right. Because if someone who's brand new, whose grieving experience just happened this week, and someone shares this podcast with them, they're going to be like, whatever, those ladies don't know what they're talking about. Like, ugh. But 8 months from now, they might go back to this podcast and be like, it'll hit different, because they'll have stumbled the way we did and realize, okay, maybe they might know a little bit.
Right. And so, I my favorite client always is, and we get them so many times. You know, my grandmother died when I was 12, or my grandmother died when I was 18, and she was the one that raised me. And now my grandfather has passed away, and I love him dearly. I can't do this the way I did it last time. I suffered for 20 years when my grandmother died. I refused to do it anyway. So now I need to know, how do I do this right? And that person literally comes with the mind of, I did it wrong before. How do I do it right? And that was almost the spot that you and I were in. For 8 months, we were just wondering. We didn't know how to do it. And that's why when we walked in the room and we sat down, and she said, tears may or may not be a sign of your grief. Like, everything she said just made so much sense. Well, because we were at the part where we were ready to hear the message and show us how to do this.
Yeah. When she said, because I started, because you didn't go, I started in some of those support groups and saw the people in there, and I was like, I don't want to be that. 25 years later, still coming back to this support group. And then when she said the 5 stages of grief does not apply to grievers, I mean, it was like you and I both heard the one thing we needed to get our attention and say, oh my gosh, we're in the right place. We found the right place.
Yeah. And I want to leave this for our friends. The negative emotions have to be felt.
All of it.
All of it. The negative emotions have to come through you. You have to feel them. There's no getting around them. There's no pretending they don't exist. Erica and I promise you, we have met women that are still grieving from 30 years ago. No matter what happens in your life, you've got to feel the feelings. And I agree with you. They feel terrible, and it hurts so bad, and you want it to be over. But we are here for you, and we're with you, and we've been on this journey before you. And I promise you, we have answers to where you are right now.
Grief absolutely sucks. It sucks. If it didn't, everyone would be signing up and being like, oh yeah, let's do this grief thing. our business would be like abundant. Like we'd be having to add 30 more people to help because everyone would want to jump on the grief wagon. No one wants to jump on the grief wagon.
No. That's why we have no friends. We only have each other.
It works though. It works. It's fine.
Because all we ever talk is grief.
So yes, it is absolutely one of the hardest things you will experience.
Yeah.
But everyone, no matter what, is going to experience it. So I would feel it's best to, like you said, find the guide that's going to get you through and get you through in the safest and least traumatic way possible.
Yeah.
I guess I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, friends, thank you for allowing us in. Remember to feel your feelings.
Bye, friends. Thank you. Hi, friends. Erica Honore here with Healing Starts with the Heart. Sharon and I are so glad you joined us for another great episode of our podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We want to let you know for more information, you can go to our website at healingstartswiththeheart.com. There you will find not only today's podcast, but all of our podcasts, along with our blogs, the information on the programs that we offer, and the Griever's Guide, which is something Sharon and I put together to document how we came to be your grief specialists. We also have a quiz to take to identify if you are truly grieving. And if you want to talk specifically with either Sharon or myself, you can schedule an appointment there. You will also find a place to join our private Facebook group at Hope, Heal, and Recover. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a great day, friends.